The sun hung high above Maplewood Park, warming the benches and the walking paths where children played and dogs chased frisbees. It was a kind of peaceful Tuesday afternoon when nothing much happened, and everyone liked it that way. Everyone except Officers Zimmerman and Bloom. Their white and blue patrol car sat tucked behind a row of thick bushes near the park entrance, hidden from the main road. Inside, Officer Zimmerman slouched in the driver's seat, his hat pushed back on his head. His partner, Officer Bloom, had his feet up on the dashboard, eating a bag of chips. "I hate Tuesdays," Zimmerman grumbled, staring at his phone instead of the road. "Nothing ever happens on Tuesdays." Bloom crunched loudly. "That's the point. Easy day, easy paycheck." They were supposed to be watching for speeding cars. The speed sensor blinked on the dashboard, forgotten and ignored. Instead, the two officers entertained themselves by watching people walk by and making fun of them. "Look at that guy," Bloom snorted, pointing at a jogger with bright yellow shorts. "Thinks he's an Olympic runner or something." Zimmerman laughed. "Probably can't even run a mile." They went on like this for nearly an hour, mocking dog walkers, pointing out bad haircuts, and complaining about their boss, Captain Robbins, who kept sending them reminders to actually do their jobs. "Robbins needs to relax," Bloom muttered. "We're keeping the peace just by being here." "Yeah, peace and quiet," Zimmerman agreed, closed his eyes for what he called a tactical rest. Then she appeared. At first, she was just a small figure at the far end of the parking lot. Slowly, very slowly, she moved toward them. She walked with cane in her right hand, each step careful and measured. Her purse hung from her left shoulder, worn and faded from years of use. Her hair was silver gray, pulled back neatly. Her clothes were simple but clean, a button-up shirt and dark pants. Her name was Harriet Brooks, though the officers didn't know that yet. She was 63 years old, and she had come to the park looking for help. Bloom noticed her first. He elbowed Zimmerman, who opened one eye lazily. "What now?" Zimmerman asked. "Check this out," Bloom said, grinning. They both watched as Harriet came closer, her cane tapping against the pavement with each step. She was heading straight for their patrol car. "Oh, great," Zimmerman groaned. "Here we go. Another complaint about a lost cat or something." Bloom started to laugh. "Look at her walk. Like a robot running out of batteries." Zimmerman snickered. Wind-up toys breaking down. Harriet reached the car and stopped beside Zimmerman's window. She leaned slightly on her cane, breathing a little hard from the walk. Her face was kind, her eyes tired but hopeful. She raised her hand to knock on the window. Zimmerman rolled it down halfway, just enough to talk through. He didn't bother sitting up straight. "Yeah," he said, not even looking at her. "Excuse me, officers," Harriet began, her voice quiet but polite. "I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm a little lost. I'm trying to find a Veterans Medical Center on Oakwood Street, and my phone died. Could we what?" Bloom interrupted from the passenger seat, leaning over with a smirk. "Could we give you a ride? A parade? Maybe a red carpet?" Zimmerman chuckled. "Lady, do we look like Google Maps to you?" Harriet blinked, confused by the rudeness. "I just need directions, sir. I have an appointment, and I don't want to be late." "An appointment?" Zimmerman repeated in a mocking, high-pitched voice. "Oh, no, we can't let Grandma be late." Bloom burst out laughing, slapping the dashboard. "Grandma's got places to be." Harriet's face tightened. She gripped her cane a little harder. "I'm not asking for much. Just a simple—" "Listen, lady," Zimmerman said, waving his hand dismissively. "We're busy here. Can't you see we're working? Go ask someone else." "But you're police officers," Harriet said, her voice trembling now. Not from fear, but from frustration. "You're supposed to help people." Bloom leaned forward, his grin fading into something meaner. "We help people who deserve it, not people who waste our time." Harriet took a breath, trying to stay calm. She could feel eyes on her now. A few people in the park had stopped to watch. A mother with a stroller. A man walking his dog. They stood at a distance, curious but unwilling to get involved. "I'm a veteran," Harriet said firmly, looking Zimmerman right in the eye. I served this country for over 20 years. I was a sergeant in the Army. I've been overseas. I've done my duty. And all I'm asking for is a little respect and some directions. For a second, the officers went quiet. Then Zimmerman scoffed. A sergeant, huh? Sure you were. He glanced at Bloom. Everyone's a hero these days. Bloom nodded. Probably saw it in a movie and thinks she lived it. Harriet's chest rose and fell quickly. Her hand trembled on the cane. I have my identification. I can show you my... We don't need to see anything. Zimmerman cut her off. What we need is for you to move along before we have a problem. A problem? Harriet repeated, her voice breaking now. I'm asking for help and you're threatening me? Not a threat, Bloom said coolly. Just a fact. You keep bothering us, and we can call it disturbing the peace. Loitering. Whatever sticks. Harriet stared at them, disbelief flooding her face. She had faced hostile crowds overseas. She had led soldiers through danger. She had earned medals and honors. And now, in her own country, in a quiet park on a sunny afternoon, two men in uniforms were treating her like garbage. Please, she whispered. I just need directions. Zimmerman rolled his eyes. Oakwood Street is that way. He pointed vaguely toward the road. Now go. Harriet didn't move. She stood there shaking, her pride wounded but her spirit still strong. And that's when things got worse. Bloom opened his door and stepped out, walking around the car toward Harriet. You deaf lady? He said move. Harriet backed up a step, her cane scraping the pavement. I'm going. Not fast enough, Bloom said, reaching out. He grabbed her arm. Not gently, not kindly. He grabbed her like she was a criminal. And Harriet's cane slipped from her hand and clattered to the ground. Pain shot through Harriet's shoulder as Bloom's fingers dug into her arm. She gasped, stumbling slightly, tried to keep her balance without her cane. Let go of me, she said, her voice stronger than she felt. Bloom's grip tightened. When you learn some manners, maybe I will. The mother with the stroller had stopped walking completely now. The man with the dog stood frozen on the path. A teenage boy on a skateboard pulled out his phone, though he looked too scared to actually film anything. Nobody helped. Nobody said a word. Zimmerman climbed out of the patrol car, stretching like he'd just woken up from a nap. What's the problem here, Bloom? No problem, Bloom said with a mean smile. Just explaining the rules to our friend here. Harriet tried to pull her arm free, but Bloom held tight. You're hurting me, she said, her voice shaking with anger now, not fear. I'm a senior citizen. I have arthritis. Let me go. Arthritis? Bloom repeated mockingly. Should have stayed home then, shouldn't you? Zimmerman walked around to where Harriet's cane had fallen. He picked it up slowly, looking at it like it was some kind of toy. He tapped it against his boot. Nice cane, he said. Looks old. Like you. Bloom laughed. Harriet's eyes filled with tears, but she refused to let them fall. She had cried before, when she buried friends, when she came home from war, when her husband passed away 5 years ago. But she would not cry for these two bullies. Give me back my cane, she said quietly. Zimmerman tilted his head. What's the magic word? Please, Harriet said through clenched teeth. Not sure I heard you. Please, she repeated, louder this time. Zimmerman tossed the cane toward her, but Bloom was still holding her arm, so she couldn't catch it. It clattered to the ground again, just out of reach. Both officers laughed, and that's when Zimmerman saw it. As Harriet struggled to keep her balance, her left hand came up instinctively, reaching toward Bloom's grip to try to pry his fingers loose. The afternoon sunlight caught something on her hand, a flash of gold. Zimmerman's laughter stopped. He stepped closer, squinting. On Harriet's right hand, on her ring finger, was a gold ring. It wasn't fancy or sparkly like a wedding ring. It was thick and sturdy military style, and on its surface was an engraving, an eagle perched above a shield, with stars and stripes beneath it. Beneath the eagle were 2 words carved in careful letters. Always ready. Zimmerman's mouth went dry. He knew that symbol. He'd seen it before. His younger brother, Marcus, wore a ring just like it. Marcus was in the Army, stationed overseas right now. He'd sent Zimmerman a photo of his unit last month, all of them standing together in their uniforms, proud and strong. And every one of them wore rings like the one on Harriet's hand. "Wait," Zimmerman said, his voice suddenly quieter. Bloom looked over, confused. "What?" Zimmerman pointed at Harriet's hand. "That ring." Bloom glanced down and shrugged. "So? It's a ring. Who cares?" But Zimmerman cared. He knew what that ring meant. It wasn't something you could just buy at a store. It was earned. It was given to soldiers who served with honor, who completed their missions, who led others through impossible situations. It was real. Harriet noticed him staring. She stopped struggling for a moment and followed his gaze to her own hand. Then she looked back at him, and something changed in her eyes. The fear faded. The sadness lifted. What replaced it was strength. "You see it now, don't you?" she said softly. Zimmerman swallowed hard. "Where'd you get that ring?" Harriet pulled her arm free from Bloom's loosening grip. She stood as tall as her aching back would let her, and she held up her hand so both officers could see the ring clearly. "I didn't get it anywhere," she said. "I earned it. 23 years in the United States Army. Sergeant First Class Harriet Brooks. I served in Germany, Iraq, and Afghanistan. I led a platoon of 30 soldiers. I trained young men and women to protect this country. I carried wounded soldiers to safety. I buried friends who died for freedom." Her voice grew stronger with every word. "This ring represents every morning I woke up at 4 a.m. for drills. Every night I slept on hard ground in a war zone. Every time I missed my family because duty called. Every promotion I earned through sweat and sacrifice." She stepped forward, and both officers stepped back. "You want to know what this ring means?" Harriet continued, her voice ringing out across the quiet park. "It means I know what real courage looks like. And it doesn't look like two grown men bullying an old woman in a park." Zimmerman's face turned red. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Bloom tried to recover. "Look, lady, we didn't know. You didn't ask." Harriet cut him off. "You didn't care. You saw someone you thought was weak, and you decided to make yourself feel big by making me feel small." She bent down slowly, painfully, and picked up her cane herself. When she stood back up, she was breathing hard, but her eyes were fierce. "My brothers and sisters in uniform taught me something," she said. "They taught me that a uniform doesn't make you honorable. Your actions do. You too are wearing badges, but you've got no honor." Zimmerman looked away, shame creeping into his chest. He thought about his brother Marcus again, how proud Marcus was to serve, how seriously he took his responsibility. Marcus would be disgusted if he saw this. I have a brother in the Army," Zimmerman said quietly. Harriet's expression didn't soften. "Then you should know better." Bloom shifted uncomfortably. You were just doing your job?" Harriet finished for him. "No, your job is to protect and serve. You were doing the opposite." For the first time, Bloom looked genuinely worried. "Are you going to report us?" Harriet stared at him for a long moment. "I've dealt with worse than you too. Much worse. But what disappoints me most is that you wear the same uniform as people who would die to protect me. You dishonor them." She turned to leave, her cane tapping firmly against the ground. She'd only taken 3 steps when a loud voice rang out across the parking lot. Officers Zimmerman and Bloom. All 3 of them froze. A tall man in a police captain's uniform was walking toward them, his face like thunder. His name tag read Robbins. His eyes were locked on the 2 officers, and he did not look happy. "Captain," Zimmerman stammered, straightening up quickly. "I saw exactly what you were doing," Captain Robbins said coldly. He'd been driving past the park when he noticed a commotion. He'd parked across the street and watched the entire scene unfold. And he was furious. Captain Robbins walked straight past the 2 officers and stopped in front of Harriet. His expression completely changed. The anger disappeared, replaced by deep respect. He looked down at her hand, at the gold ring still catching the sunlight. Then he did something that shocked everyone. He stood at attention and saluted her. Sergeant Brooks, he said formally. Thank you for your service. Harriet blinked in surprise. Slowly, with effort, she lifted her hand and returned the salute. For a moment, the park was completely silent. Then Captain Robbins turned to face Zimmerman and Bloom, and the anger returned to his face like a storm rolling in. Both of you, he said, his voice like ice. In my office. Now. Zimmerman and Bloom stood frozen like statues. Neither one wanted to move. Neither one wanted to face what was coming. Captain Robbins didn't repeat himself. He simply pointed toward the patrol car with one firm gesture, his jaw set tight. I said now, he repeated, his voice dropping even lower. Bloom moved first, shuffling toward the car with his head down. Zimmerman followed, his face burning with embarrassment. As they climbed into the vehicle, Captain Robbins walked over to the driver's side window. Drive straight back to the station, he ordered. Don't stop. Don't talk. Don't do anything except park that car and wait in my office. Am I clear? Yes, sir, they both mumbled. I can't hear you. Yes, SIR, they said louder, their voices cracking. Captain Robbins stepped back, and Zimmerman started the engine with shaking hands. The patrol car pulled away slowly, disappearing down the road that led out park. When they were gone, Captain Robbins turned back to Harriet. His stern expression melted away completely. In its place was kindness, concern, and genuine respect. Ma'am, he said gently, are you all right? Did they hurt you? Harriet rubbed her shoulder where Bloom had grabbed her. It was sore, and it would probably bruise by tomorrow, but she felt worse pain before. I'll be fine, she said quietly. I've survived worse than them. Captain Robbins nodded slowly. I don't doubt that for a second. He gestured toward a nearby bench. Would you like to sit down? Can I get you some water? Harry appreciated the offer, but she shook her head. I just need directions to the Veterans Medical Center on Oakwood Street. That's all I came here for. Captain Robbins smiled sadly. Of course. I'll do better than directions. I'll take you there myself. My car is right across the street. You don't have to do that, Harriet said. I know I don't have to, Captain Robbins replied. I want to. It's the least I can do after what you just went through. Harriet studied his face for a moment. She could see he meant it. There was no pity in his eyes, only respect and genuine care. All right, she said. Thank you. As they walked slowly toward his car, Captain Robbins stayed beside her, matching her pace. He didn't rush her. He didn't try to take her arm or treat her like she was fragile. He simply walked with her like an equal. How long did you serve? He asked. 23 years, Harriet answered. Enlisted when I was 19. Retired as a sergeant first class when I was 42. Captain Robbins let out a low whistle. That's impressive. Where were you stationed? Germany for 5 years. Iraq twice. Afghanistan once. Spent the rest stateside, training new recruits. You trained soldiers? Harriet nodded. Some of the best. Taught them discipline, courage, and how to take care of each other. That's what the military is really about. Looking out for your team. Captain Robbins opened the passenger door of his unmarked police car for her. Harriet eased herself into the seat, setting her cane across her lap. As Captain Robbins walked around to the driver's side, Harriet noticed people in the park watching. The mother with the stroller gave her a small wave. The man with the dog nodded respectfully. The teenager with the skateboard gave her a thumbs up. She nodded back at them, feeling a little lighter. Captain Robbins started the car and pulled out onto the road. For a few minutes, they drove in comfortable silence. Then he spoke again. I owe you an apology, he said. Harriet looked at him, surprised. You didn't do anything wrong. I'm their captain, he said firmly. Those 2 officers represent my department. When they fail, I fail. And today, they failed badly. He gripped the steering wheel a little tighter. I'm going to make sure there are consequences, he continued. Real consequences. They'll be suspended while I investigate this incident. They'll undergo retraining. And if I find out this isn't the first time they behave like this, they'll be removed from duty permanently. Harriet was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Good. Captain Robbins glanced at her. You have every right to file an official complaint as well. I can help you with the paperwork. Harriet thought about it. Part of her wanted to let it go, to just move on with her day. But another part of her, the sergeant part, the leader part, knew that staying silent would only let men like Zimmerman and Bloom continue hurting people. I'll file the complaint, she said. Not for me. For the next person they might treat that way. Captain Robbins smiled. That's very honorable of you. They drove for another 5 minutes before Captain Robbins pulled into the parking lot of the Oakwood Veterans Medical Center. It was a clean, modern building with a large American flag flying out front. He put the car in park, but didn't turn off the engine. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. This is my direct number, he said, handing it to her. If you ever need anything, directions, help, or if anyone in this town gives you trouble, you call me, day or night. Harriet took the card and tucked it carefully into her purse. Thank you, Captain. Robbins, just call me Tom. Harriet smiled for the first time since the whole ordeal began. Thank you, Tom. She opened the car door and stepped out, gripping her cane firmly. Before she closed the door, she leaned back in. You're a good man, she said. The kind of officer we need more of. Captain Robbins' chest swelled with quiet pride. That means a lot coming from you, Sergeant. Harriet gave him a small salute, which he returned with precision. Then she closed the door and walked toward the medical center, her cane tapping steadily on the pavement. Her back still hurt. Her shoulder was still sore, but her spirit felt stronger than it had in years. Behind her, Captain Robbins watched until she disappeared safely through the front doors. Then he picked up his radio. Dispatch, this is Captain Robbins. I'm heading back to the station. I need Officers Zimmerman and Bloom waiting in my office when I arrive. Copy that, Captain, the dispatcher replied. As he drove away, Captain Robbins thought about the gold ring on Harriet's hand. He thought about the courage it represented. He thought about the sacrifices she'd made for people who would never know her name. And he thought about the two officers waiting nervously back at the station, about to learn a very important lesson. 3 weeks later, Harriet walked through Maplewood Park again, this time without any trouble. Her appointment at the medical center had gone well. Her arthritis medication had been adjusted, and she was feeling a little better. As she passed the spot where the patrol car used to hide behind the bushes, she noticed it was gone. In its place was a new park bench with a small plaque on it. Curious, Harriet walked over and read the inscription. In honor of all veterans who serve with courage and dignity. She smiled. A young officer was standing nearby, directing traffic near the park entrance. When he saw Harriet, he walked over politely. Good afternoon, ma'am, he said with a friendly smile. Beautiful day, isn't it? It certainly is, Harriet replied. Can I help you with anything? Directions? Anything at all? Harriet shook her head. No, thank you, officer. I know exactly where I'm going. The young officer tipped his hat respectfully and returned to his post. Harriet continued her walk through the park, her gold ring catching the afternoon sunlight. She didn't know that the young officer had been part of the new training program Captain Robbins implemented after the incident, a program focused on respect, dignity, and proper treatment of all citizens. She didn't know that Zimmerman had been demoted and transferred to a desk job, or that Bloom had resigned rather than face the consequences. All she knew was that today, right now, in this moment, she felt seen. She felt valued. She felt like the veteran she was. And that gold ring on her finger, the one she'd earned through sweat, sacrifice, and service, continued to shine brightly, a symbol of honor that no amount of disrespect could ever tarnish. Harriet Brooks walked on, her head held high, ready for whatever came next, because veterans don't give up. They never have. And they never will. Did Harriet's courage inspire you? Do you believe respect should be earned through actions, not just uniforms? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful stories of dignity, justice, and the strength of the human spirit. Ring the notification bell so you never miss a story that matters. Share this with someone who needs to be reminded that true honor shines brightest in the darkest moments. See you in the next story. Stay strong, stay honorable,